So when you're meeting with Vince and you're having the discussion about the claw, I think you wrote in your book, it's around this time that you pitched the idea for 2 sets of music.
Yeah, yeah.
At that point, had you said, hey, I want it to sound something like this?
Yeah.
Or did you? Okay.
Yeah, gentle piano. I mean, if they come out with strings, I would not have cared. But it was basically gentle, soothing music using the piano, and that would harken back to that love of music I had before I took a hammer to my fingers. I think it was a ball peen hammer, just for the sake of.
Did you work with Jim Johnston on the music process?
No, Jim came up with that on his own, and it was home run up until I became a babyface.
Yeah.
And now it's dreary music. It was, and it doesn't have a Pavlovian moment where people are going to catch their breath and realize it.
There's no gong.
Yeah, it didn't lend itself to a pop. It lent itself feeling of foreboding.
It was eerie and creepy.
Yeah, which is what we wanted. It's not what I wanted by the time that character started lightening up,
Yeah.
And then it kind of becomes counter. I think they actually sped up the cadence or sped up the music when I became a babyface. But it was still kind of dreary music to come out to as a good guy.
So this is all starting to come together, but you've not said yet how you came up with the name Mankind or the idea.
It was just having my back against the wall, thinking that Mason was the worst name I'd ever heard.
You did it in that split second?
Well, I did it. I didn't do it at the table. I'd already thought of the name Mankind.
Oh, that's right, because you heard it before.
Yeah,
Vince said
it just came to me. I did not borrow it from anywhere, not that I know of. It just was like, you're brainstorming. What could I be? It's got to have I felt like it had to have an M in it. Just Mankind, and it just struck me. That's a great first name. It's different.
You felt like it needed to have an M because of the alliteration.
Yeah,
Mankind the Mutilator, because you knew Vince like that.
Yeah, you're not going to be Joe the Mutilator,
right?
It's going to be, if he had his heart set on Mason, it's got to be an option that he would be predisposed to liking, and I thought that was an M name.
Yeah. So eventually, you get called into creative services. And Debbie what's her name?
That's it. I can't remember her last name.
Bonazzino?
Yeah, that would be it. That's the one. Debbie's the one. Oh, should I be saying this? Putting her in hot water. She is the one who revealed to me the Mason name.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's your actual contractual status when you leave that meeting? At this point, you've returned the contract, maybe sent the wrong one accidentally, or does that happen after the fact?
Conrad, I honestly don't know. I think by that point I probably returned it because we were getting down to the nuts and bolts of it.
I was just curious if you were maybe let me just see how this goes before I commit.
No,
you were committed by this point.
I was committed by that point. I mean, that's part of what I talked to with my wife. I think I was 30 at that point. Yeah, I was 30 years old. Felt like I had another 4 or 5 good years left in me. And felt like I needed to know what it was like to be there.
Where did the "Have a Nice Day" thing come from?
That's from Jim Ross. We do the first when we're going. He was in the pseudo dungeon that had been built, and I was supposed to do a quick. It wasn't one of the sit down ones. It was a quick one, and he just came up off the top of his head. Say something. Have a nice day. And then I ran with that. It became, who knew, 22, that was 22 years later. I'm still saying have a nice day.
Your first vignette airs on Superstars on January 6th. When this airs, and now it's not in a quote-unquote dirt sheet, but the world is watching.
Yeah.
Does your phone light up with guys in the business? What is this?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have found out through text messages, and there was no Twitter at that time. There were some people. I think Shane may have chimed in that it wasn't a good. There were some people predicting that it was going to be the death of that character. Goldust had come in with a bold new vision for his character. Some people thought that was going to be the death of the character.
It worked out.
And he made it work. He made it work because of his commitment.
Well, I mean, listen, if the Undertaker had come along with anybody else in any other era, it would not have worked the way it did. Like,
Right,
the
yeah,
guy makes it work.
Yeah, the guy makes it work.
Yeah.
So once when the Undertaker got behind that, I had a lot of I got a lot of guys in my corner. I've got Undertaker, I've got Bruce, I've got Jim Ross, Cornette, yeah. So a lot of people. Vince Russo is a big believer in what I can do.
We haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah,
he's starting to work his way up the ranks in the WWF at the time, and he's gone from quote unquote just being a magazine writer to more and more he's becoming involved and creative and being a part of the process.
Because Vince wrote out the original promos that I largely rejected and rewrote myself.
For the Mankind vignettes.
For the Mankind vignettes, yeah.
Russo wrote them.
Yeah, he wrote the original ones. And then I turned it
What didn't you like about them?
There was some talk at Barney the Dinosaur. It didn't feel... It
wasn't as dark as you wanted.
Didn't feel like a good fit. I wanted something that felt real to me, and that Mary Shelley meets Tori Amos.
You wanted to be more haunting.
Yeah, it was haunting. Yeah, she's got a voice, I think it'd be described like ethereal. Is that the way you pronounce it? Like otherworldly. Mm-hmm. So even people who are not fans of her music, I think, can acknowledge that there's a unique quality and a haunting feel. And I wanted that, and it inspired me.
These vignettes, how many of these do you remember recording? Was it one at a time over the series of a weekend, or what was that like?
I think we banged out 4 or 5 in one day. So it was Kevin Dunn shooting them. He was like, I like it. It's got an eerie feeling. It was good. I can read people pretty well, even at that age. I'd been around. I didn't think they were paying lip service to me. It didn't dawn on me. Howard Finkel was another guy who was in my corner.
Was there a producer besides Kevin Dunn?
I don't remember. I'm sure there was, but Kevin was the main guy.
Where did the George the Rat come in?
They wanted that rodent. They thought it'd be creepy, and Corny's wife, had a couple pets, fit the bill. So he brought George in. I'm not crazy about. I love chipmunks and squirrels. Most of the rodent.
A rat as a pet is weird.
Yeah, he's got the big tail, but. That was not going to be an issue, right? It was not for a guy who had, made his reputation in high school for eating worms. Having a rat climbing over me was not going to be an issue.
Talk to me about the bowels of the building, and I mean that became sort of the home of Mankind.
Yeah.
Was that always going to be the plan, or just evolved into that?
Well, I think once they establish him in the dungeon,
yes,
he's in a dark place. And so I knew I would retreat to the boiler room anyway, because this didn't feel like a perfect fit to me. There were times when Cactus Jack could get dark and did get dark, like with the Kane Dewey promo. But this was going to be a guy who dwelled in darkness in my head, And maybe it sounds a little self-important, but I really felt like, all right, this is not a natural fit. I have to get into this character like a method actor would.
No, that's not arrogant. It is acting.
Yeah. So I was putting that mask on 5 or 6 hours before I went out. I was retreating to dark places mentally and physically, and that I would come out like an hour before, maybe more, but it felt like I would come out an hour before. We were usually the semi-main event, so I had a chance to stretch out and do some calisthenics, so that when I hit the ring, I was ready. And there was something I would do with the original series of matches with The Undertaker. And this is, we all borrow from people that we admired and looked up to. And this is something Chris Candido did with me when I was working for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which is he wouldn't just bail out and slink away. He would literally run away, sprinting run away. I think I may have accentuated that because when I was running for the Hills, I had bigger arenas to run in. When I was working with Chris, it was like Peel's Palace in Erlanger, Kentucky,
Yeah.
and then some. So now I've got these 17,000 seat arenas. So when the Undertaker would get the better of me the first time, and I took off, I had the Forrest Gump. I had the knees up there, I had the arms running like this, and then I would get to what I thought was a safe spot, and I would look around. This is prior to having Paul Bearer. And then we upped that ante when we got to Kuwait and we worked in the National Football Stadium or Soccer Stadium. And now it's like a 117-yard run. Like, I'm going to do it like I'm Ben Johnson. Like, am I safe? Is he only 75 yards, 80 yards away from me? And I like the idea that someone could be scared. Again, this goes back to what we were talking about last week, the difference between Shane McMahon's fearlessness and the courage of Mick Foley is that Shane wasn't afraid of anything. I was, but I found ways to do them. So I like the idea of somebody who was terrified by almost everything. I thought that made him more dangerous, that he was always going to be perpetually worried and scared and then would act in the face of that, and that creating human suffering did put his mind at ease.